In this video, I'm going to dive straight into the Tools panel and everything you need to know. I've put this by itself because people tend to forget which tools are which, so this will help you if you need to refer back to them again later. Now I want to be able to edit my video clips to reposition, scale, and cut them up. So this is where we move on to our Tools panel up here on the top left. Now tools are pretty self-explanatory. They allow us to change and edit our layers in different ways. Now to keep it easy, these are the ones you're going to use 90% of the time. The selection tool, which I can drag and move layers around, which you can access by hitting V on the keyboard. Now also to undo a change or an edit, you can hit Ctrl Z to go back. I can use the hand tool to move around my screen. Now note that this is different from actually moving my clip inside of the viewer. I can use the zoom tool to zoom in or out of my timeline. And if I hold Option or Alt on my keyboard, that'll switch between zoom out and zoom in. I can also use the mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out of my viewer. And I can also do the same if I hold Option or Alt on my keyboard, I can zoom in and out of my timeline. You could also use this top bar to zoom in and out of your timeline as well. And the rotation tool, or W on my keyboard, I can use to rotate my layer around. Now also note, if you hold Shift on your keyboard, it locks it to that axis, so it'll make lining up the adjustments much easier. Now those are the ones you're going to use 90% of the time. The others to mention, which we will look at in more detail as we use them, are the camera tool, which will control a 3D camera when we've created one for our scene. The pan behind tool, which is what we use to adjust the anchor point of a clip. Now we'll cover this in more detail, but very quickly, the anchor point is the position in which the clip moves around. So you can see as I rotate it, it's rotating around that anchor position. Now if I was to move this anchor point over here and then go back to the rotation, you can see we've changed the axis in which it rotates around. The rectangle tool just allows us to create shapes. Or if you select a layer first, it allows us to draw a mask. The pen tool allows us to draw custom masks on a layer, which I'll cover in much more detail later on in this course. And the text tool allows us to create some text. The other tools at the top are for more specific applications that we will cover in a later part of the course. So that's a breakdown of the tools and their functions inside of After Effects. And if you have any questions about this subject, please feel free to let me know.